What's going on, YouTube? Uh, it's me, K Rider again, and we're continuing with the Chronicles of Big Red Buddy, sitting right behind me. It's the Mazda Speed 6. On the agenda for today, I am attempting to install the transmission mount from Damon Motorsports. I feel a little deflated, defeated, because I'm confident that I cross-thread the bolt in the rear motor mount when I installed that yesterday. So today I'm going to do my darndest not to commit that same mistake. So let me show you what we got. Okay, so here we have what came in the box from Damon Motorsports. It's the driver's side engine mount, oftentimes referred to as the transmission mount. So I'm going to attempt to put that in, and I pray that things will work out a lot better than they have the past several times, especially with the installation of the rear motor mount. So I haven't started, but first step is to take out the battery, remove the battery tray, and I understand that I got to get the fuse box out as well. So we'll get started. Okay, so I've taken the battery out, and now I'm going to take the battery tray, which is just those two 10mm bolts right there. Okay, so the battery mount is out, and it just bolts into this little hole right here, and this one here, and that was from the battery tray, rather, battery tray. And so I showed you those 10mm bolts, but one of the next steps that I need to do now is see about relocating this. I think it's a shifter cable or something, is I think what they have called it on YouTube. And it's held in place with this little bracket here, so I'm going to have to pop that out so that I can move the cable out of the way, because one of the bolts that I need to remove is right there, which sits right under this cable, and I believe the other one is here, and there's a third, so it's this one here, and then there's a third one somewhere down here I got to locate, so I'll keep at it. Okay, so in order to remove this little clip right here to be able to move this cable out of the way, I was 100% sure that I was going to need some kind of special tool or something, and I'll be honest, I decided to go with the channel locks. All I did was I clamped it down from the side just like this, and I still haven't removed them, so hopefully I can get it. I'm trying to film and do this at the same time, so I apologize. But basically I pinched them in like this. Now let me see if I can get the camera out of the way, my arm rather, and I just rocked it back and forth and pulled straight out, and so here's that clip. So the channel locks do work, and I'm grateful they did, because the way that things have been going with this car, that's a nice surprise. So we'll keep at it. All right, in order to get this out of this joint here, what I did was I pulled back on this, just pull straight back in that direction towards the driver's side, and then you're able to get it past this lip, and then it'll pull straight out. If you try to pull straight up on it out of here, it will not come out. If you can see, these are curved in, so if they were straight, it'd be no problem, but because they curve in at the top, it locks this piece in place. So bear that in mind. What you got to do is, again, grab that and pull back in that direction towards the driver. Okay, the instructions now call for the removal of the air intake box, which is right here. I assume I have to just disconnect this clamp here, and it'll just come out. And hopefully, I'm not sure if there's other attachments. There might be screws down here at the corners, so I'll look at that and figure that out here in a second. and we'll go from there. Okay, so here's the factory air intake box. I just removed it. You see this chamber here, and you've got 3 little ports right there. Those 3 spots go into these little grommets. One here, one here, one here, and then this port here is attached to this air hose down here, and this was the other hose that I disconnected from the top, which was tied into this part. So this is actually the top of the air box. I just have it laying on its side. I did not disconnect this cable. I had enough play that I didn't need to do that. I just removed it and put it right there for now. So it's sitting right on top of the engine. So we'll continue on. Another point about the air intake box. So you do have to remove this clamp in order to take the hose off of it from here. Once you remove that, then it's just a matter of grabbing the box, the entire box, and just pulling straight up on it, and it'll pop out of these grommets, and then you can have it sitting there. You kind of got to work your way because this hose is kind of tight. So I'm not sure if the better option would have been to just remove the entire hose with it at this point, but we'll see when it comes to installation. Okay, I removed the fuse box. Well, as much as possible anyways. It's tight in there, so I don't know what they mean by removing it. I think they just mean removing the screws from here, which are these 2 screws here, and then there's the little nut that attaches that to the frame also. So that's loose, and hopefully I can access that bolt there by having it loose. And the other bolt for the mount is right there. So I'm hoping that I can make my way through here and access that bolt down there. So we'll see. Okay, so I've got my my jack. Got a piece of wood underneath. You can sort of see the wood, and I put a little pressure right about where the rear mount is at to give the transmission some support. And what the instructions say now is that I need to remove the long through bolt right here, which is a 17 millimeter. I got to remove this bolt right here, and that nut right there, and then that nut right back here. So those 1, 2, 3, and then 4 are the first steps in removing all this. Then I'm supposed to set the base aside. Okay, so I got the bracket out. As you can see, it attached here, there, and back there. And I've got the hardware sitting up here in the order that they came out. So this being the front, this one being, when I say the front, I mean this one being the one off here, and then the other one being the one in the back. And let me tell you, that was a task. You kind of have to play around with the jack, lifting it and lowering it, and lifting it and lowering it a number of times so that it will line up so that you can get it off. So I am dreading putting the new one in, because that was a job, and I certainly do not want to cross thread anything again. So here we go. All right, success. The motor mount is completely out, the OEM, and it is time consuming because the bolts are not necessarily easy to get to. So you've got to kind of get creative with it. But we'll start putting in the new mount here in a second. For reference, that's the base of the OEM motor mount or transmission mount, and for the new one, that's the base here for the new motor mount. Now what is required of me is to remove the 4 bolts that are holding in the top of the mount, which is one's right here, another one is under here, which is directly under the fuse box, another one is back in that area here, And then the fourth one is, you won't be able to see it, but it's down here under the fuse box. So there's 4 more bolts to remove, and that'll be out, and then the nightmare begins. Okay, so the new base plate is installed. These were the existing nuts that were, well, the bolts were attached to the transmission, and then these nuts are the ones that came off before, and then this is a new supplied 19 millimeter bolt, which is a short bolt. Before, the base was tied in here, here, and here, and with the new base, you don't use this port here. You use these right here. So that's done. Now to the next step. All right, so it's time to install the new bushing. Here's a new bushing, and on these bushings there's a lip. There's a lip that they're talking about. See how it's on the round part is protruding over here on the left side. So that lip right there faces the engine according to the instructions. So this just drops right in on the base mount, just like that. So it drops straight down into it, and that lip again faces the engine. There's the main engine there, and let me back up so y'all can get better reference. So the lip goes just like that. So let me go ahead and install that now. Oh, also, if I didn't mention it before, the 3 nuts and bolts were torqued to 65 foot-pounds. I believe this will be the same. One thing, I'm going to add a little note here, and that is that one of the cool things about David Motorsports, one, they will answer your questions within 24 hours. When I installed the motor mount yesterday, the rear motor mount, there was no instructions on how to do that, and I had no idea what the torque the nuts to the bolts, and so I sent them a message and they responded to me today. So I now have the torque specs, which I believe are 65 foot-pounds, and I did verify, and the one for the bushing today will also be 65 foot-pounds. But if you can notice, the bolts and the nuts are different color. They're coordinated, so that makes it nice and easy to follow the instructions. So all right, so here we go. All right, so the bushing carrier is installed. The last part that needs to be installed is the top mount, and there's a series of bolts. There's 2 bolts that go into the bushing right here, right there. That'll connect the top piece, and then the top piece gets bolted in with the four bolts from earlier, which are sitting right here. So wish me luck. All right, so it is 8 o'clock now, and everything is put back together again. In terms of ease, I will say the passenger side motor mount is probably the easiest, followed by the driver's side, which by no means is easy, and in third place comes the rear motor mount. Now, in all fairness, I think maybe had I worked a little harder and found some leverage points, I may have been able to get the rear motor mount in a lot easier, but I obviously didn't do that. I know that the passenger's motor mount and the driver's motor mount, I definitely did not cross thread anything. Can't say the same thing about the rear motor mount. So, but I got all 3 of them done, and hopefully we'll see if they work out, and I like them. I better like them. Please, Lord, let me like them. All right, so next up is I ordered the CV shaft assembly for the passenger side. That should come in probably about a week or so, and when it comes in, that'll be I believe the next project, unless if I'm forgetting something else. But I've done the brake lines, and the last thing was the CV shaft assembly for the passenger. So hopefully I'll get that done without too many problems. Until then, I will see y'all on the next video. If you have any questions, just leave them below and I'll get back to you. Thanks. Okay. First of all, let me go ahead and say that it is probably a good thing that I don't do continuous recording of this, because the amount of swear words that I have said tonight would probably embarrass a sailor, a Marine, an airman, and a grunt. But in order to get these two bolts all the way through here, this is the top mount, it is a task. I had to leverage everything I possibly could, lift, lower, everything I possibly could to get those to match up. And that's a task. I've been fighting with that for like the past 30 to 40 minutes. Luckily my wife came out here, she helped me out, and she was able to insert the bolts while I moved the engine around, and I wiggled, and I finally got it in. So it's in now. I need to just bolt it down. Hey guys, I just remember one thing. This is the last thing, and then I'll cut the video off. When you are reinstalling everything, make sure you follow the instructions to a T. I made the mistake of reinstalling the airbox before I attempted to install the battery tray, and that will not work. You have to install the battery tray first and then the airbox, and the reason for that is because the new little bolt and nut that is provided with the kit is hard to reach. In fact, it's impossible to reach if the airbox is installed. So be mindful of that. Anyhow, if you have any questions, leave them below, and I'll see you at the next video. Thanks.